We'll start so welcome to class 53, Bible Prophecy Israel. We're in the book of Revelation still. How appropriate for these end times. And so we're going to review, first of all, the introduction of the very important personage and concept called Mystery Babylon. Because I think as we're realizing it's a person in the verses, but she also represents a system. So let's take a look again at Revelation 17:4. So Emily, can you please read in English Revelation 17:4?
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
Ouch! E a mulher estava vestida de púrpura e de escarlata e adornada com ouro e pedras preciosas e pérolas, e tinha na sua mão cálice de ouro, cheio de abominações e da imundícia da sua fornicação. Please correct any errors. I like speaking in Portuguese for you guys, but then you realize it's not easy to pronounce in a foreign language. Okay, so you can see I'm like, oh. So,
but you did great. You did great.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind. And now, speaking of, if you recall, we're going to go like this. If you recall, there was the photo we looked at last week. And there, what do you know? That John, who was sharing the revelation of Jesus Christ, was given this very specific image of a woman arrayed in purple and scarlet. And amazingly, the Holy Spirit knows exactly what he's doing. There is an entity that's famous for its religiosity and for the use of purple and scarlet here in the two groups most powerful inside that religious hierarchy. So the bishops and the cardinals. Wow. Okay, that's amazing that it's like fulfilled prophecy right there. Okay, and so let's go. Monica, can you please read question 1 in English?
Why are purple and scarlet is its second reference significant colors?
Okay, so we sort of answered that. Its second reference, because actually chapter 17, verse 1, also, oh, maybe it's another. Anyway, that's the second time that we've mentioned the color scarlet. And so why are these significant? Well, we just saw. It's giving us one clue, perhaps, to who the woman represents. And so, Ju, can you kindly read Revelation 17:5?
Yes, and upon her forehead was a name writing, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Okay, very good. And you corrected your pronunciation when you said written at first, and then you saw, oh, there's two T's, so written. All right, so
written.
Absolutely right. Okay, and na sua testa estava escrito o nome, mistério, a grande Babilônia, a mãe das prostituições e abominações da terra. Ouch, another very heavy verse. So back to Emily, can you please read question 2 in English?
In biblical terms, what does mystery mean?
Okay, do you remember from last time? Because a mystery, when people say mystery, it's like a murder mystery, it's like unsolved. But what in biblical terms does mystery mean?
Not revealed.
And not yet revealed, exactly right. So there's many mysteries mentioned that essentially the new covenant the New Testament with because of Jesus Christ manifesting himself, God coming down to earth to manifest himself as a man, helped clarify for us, including the Holy Spirit, which inspired Apostle Paul, among others, to write and clarify many former mysteries. So we have a mystery here, Mystery Babylon, but maybe it's not an unsolvable mystery, which is how we kind of think of it today. Maybe it's not so difficult. Maybe Revelation will give us a good idea who this is. So Monica, can you read question 3, please?
Where is Babylon?
Okay, so do you remember what modern country is Babylon located in?
Iraq?
Absolutely right. And we'll take a quick look. So this is from the Genesis Answers, which is Ken Ham's site. And we believe that here we are, the Tower of Babel, and that Babylon is a little bit northwest of Baghdad, but it's between the very important Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Okay, and remember, so it was an ancient city because after the Tower of Babylon, not everyone scattered. So that the city of Babylon continued on, but then ruins, it fell into ruins, and sands have covered it for almost 2,300 years. So, but the Bible makes it clear that it's going to have perhaps a renewed existence and renewed importance during the tribulation period. So we're not exactly sure, but Babylon will come back in some form or another. Okay, so let's go. Jude, can you please read question 4 in English?
Why is the name Babylon significant?
Okay, thank you. You gave a little bit of the Brazilian pronunciation, name me. But no, it's name. So no,
Name.
silent E. Okay, so why is Babylon significant? Well, we just mentioned. What does it come from? The very name Babylon comes from Babel. Okay, so the Tower of Babel was there, and hence the city was named Babylon. And obviously Babylon is where the Jewish exile occurred for all of 70 years, as Jeremiah prophesied. And so let's go now and see and learn a little bit more about the Tower of Babel. And so Emily, can you read Genesis 11 verses 1, 2, and 4 in English, please?
And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, and it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
Wow. Okay, so e era toda a terra de uma mesma língua e de uma mesma fala. E aconteceu que, partindo eles do Oriente, acharam vale na terra de Sinar, e habitaram ali. E disseram, Aiá, edificamos nós cidade e torre, cujo cume toque nos céus, e façamos-nos nome, para que não sejamos espalhados sobre a face de toda a terra. Wow, what a rebellion. And yes.
Okay, uma cidade e uma torre.
Uma. Okay, uma. Did I say by mistake?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much. Okay, so Emily and then Monica, can you please read question 5 in English?
Who lead the towers and see this creation.
Okay, you read the verb as if it's in present tense, and that would be L-E-A-D. That would be lead. But this is past tense. And so and so without that A, it's how does it pronounce? It's led, right? So the two vowels together, it's more likely there's going to be an open sound. So lead, but then just E itself with no silent E after the consonant, it's then a closed E, so it's led the towers and cities creation. So who was responsible for this rebellion? Well, his name is in the next verse.
Nimrod.
Yes. Okay, and so let's go. That was, so Jude, can you please read Genesis 10:8 for us, please, in English?
And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Wow, okay. E Cushi gerou a Nimrod, este começou a ser poderoso na terra. Okay, so as we know, particularly from the King James English, mighty one is frequently used in the Old Testament for fallen angels or the offspring of fallen angels and women. Sometimes, to clarify, they're giants. And I don't like going to the Greek, but it's so commonly used in this case that these are the Nephilim. All right, so this is one of these odd things that Cush, a human, begat Nimrod, but Nimrod somehow was a mighty one. Maybe he was giant, maybe he was large, or maybe he had some genetic, mixing with angels, fallen angels. Who knows? But let's go then to and then. So back to Emily. Emily, can you read? Oh, did we read that? Yes, we did. Can you read question 6, please, Emily?
He created the prototypes for what?
Okay, so remember, so this is the first organized rebellion in human history. We had some obviously Cain, obviously Adam and Eve fell, or they sinned. They doubted God's word. They believed the serpent. They doubted God's word, and they paid the price for that. And one of the prices was that one of their sons killed another of their sons. But here we have a organized rebellion. And so Nimrod is a very important character. Now, he created the prototypes for what? So what are we talking about? We just looked at that in the verses. He rebelled, and we'll see exactly what he rebelled against in the next question and verse. But he also created, he brought together all humanity and created a religious system, apparently. Because why would you build a tower in order to reach the top reaches to heaven? So that already is expressing that this powerful man is creating something in order to reach heaven. And what do you do with a tall altar like that? There's some kind of strange idol or God worship involved. Why else would you build a tower that reaches up into heaven? Okay, so so not only was this a humanistic religion and perhaps the first world dictatorship, because Nimrod got everyone to rebel against God's against God's command. But this is remember that when they were scattered, they took every person there. While their languages changed, what Nimrod had taught them about how, man can become a god. Man can evolve to a higher plane. That already was in every person who left the Tower of Babel and spread over the entire earth. And so one can say this was not only the first humanistic religion, but this was the beginning of evolution. Okay, so the idea, so the evil humanistic theory of evolution started way back with Nimrod. I want to share my pastor years ago that recommended this book, which is what introduced me to Dr. Henry Morris, whose study Bible I greatly appreciate. And this, The Long War Against God, is, and by the way, this is the founder of the creationism movement in the United States over 50 years ago. And this book is amazing. And he very clearly points to the Tower of Babel as really the source of the evils of evolution, scientism, humanistic, idol worship, essentially. Okay, so, and it says it's the subtitle is The History and Impact of the Creation Evolution Conflict. Okay, so this Nimrod was very important. So let's go. Monica, can you please read question 7?
The Tower of Babel was a rebellion against what?
Okay, the pronunciation of the tower is a little bit different. As if it was Babylon, but we tend to go Babel. So the A is open. And remember, English is quite irregular. And so there's not really a lot of rhyme and reason, because Babylon, you know, it has the Y anyway. So we just tend to pronounce it differently, just to be different. So the Tower of Babel was a rebellion against what? So who remembers? It's in the next verse, but what was the main rebellion?
God's command.
And which one?
The next verse.
Exactly. And what was the main thing that God, because it's not, the word isn't really, the next verse will help explain it. But what did they refuse to do? Remember, at the end, in Genesis 11:4, it says, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So these people, they knew that God had commanded that they should scatter. And they said, nah, lest is like, we don't want this bad thing to happen, that we be scattered. We prefer putting all our forces together so we can do evil things together, like build a Tower of Babel. Exactly. It's like form bricks and we're going to build, so the evil of our imaginations is great. They can do anything they want. And so that was what they were rebelling against. God told them to scatter. And here, let's look at the verse to see where we kind of see that was actually where the commandment was made. And so, Jude, can you please read Genesis 9:1?
And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth.
Ok. E abençoou Deus a Noé e a seus filhos, e disse-lhes, frutificai e multiplicai-vos e enchei a terra. So when we see replenish the earth, that's kind of like refill. So just go out and scatter. So that's where we see the command to more or less scatter. And the people under Nimrod, they knew that, and they said, oh, we don't want to scatter. All right, so we're going to, God, you may say that, but we have other plans. So, Emily, can you please read question 8 in English?
Abominations of the earth. What is a biblical synonym for abomination?
Okay, and that abbreviation, or I'm not sure what you would call this, but it's the first word in this is actually pronounced ray. Okay, and it's like subject matter. So you see that in emails, to, from, ray in English. Okay, so it's to, from, and then the third line is ray. And so it's like ray, I'm not even sure, maybe it was a Latin or some kind of synonym for about.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but it's so in that context, it's used quite a lot.
But I didn't understand really well the question 6. So he was a prototype for what?
Okay, so it's a very good question because so here we're looking at Nimrod, and now we just saw that he led a rebellion, and his
Mhm.
rebellion was, we don't want to scatter. I want everyone here under my Nimrod's control. Right? That kind of makes sense. Like, no, you know, so he didn't want the people to scatter. He said, no, I need you. I'm going to make you, you know, make bricks for me and build a tower for me. And so don't even think of scattering. So God didn't really mean that he was joking. Okay, so first of all, we have what might be the first world dictatorship. Okay, the world wasn't very big, but he kept everyone together, right? You know, so he kept them all together, but he wanted the power all for himself, and he made them do what? Like a pharaoh in Egypt, like building a pyramid in Egypt. He made them. That's almost slave-like work to build a huge tower going up into the heavens. And then the impact of a tower going up into the heavens, it's creating a man-made religion.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why I say it's a humanistic religion. And we all know that religion is a bad word in the Bible.
Yes.
Okay, religiosity is not good because we all have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Religion is always man-made. So I don't believe in religion. I believe in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's what makes evangelicals different from any other religion or any other type of Christianity. We don't believe in religion. That's man-made. And, you know, so we don't have to go through a human authority to get to God, whether it's a father or a priest or no, or the Pope. We can have a direct personal relationship.
Yes.
So Nimrod was then creating like the prototype for many things. And one of those things, according to Dr. Henry Morris, is this is where evolution, the evil theory, Satan's greatest attack on the Bible and on God's word is evolution. And this is where it all started. So he traces evolution to when all Nimrod's people who had been told to rebel and who rebelled. So everyone there rebelled. And then they had their languages were cut and they had to scatter, but they carried with them their old beliefs. And their old beliefs included, you know, man-made religion, that's great. Okay, so anyway, does that answer your question a little more? Okay.
Thank you.
Gladly. So back to question 8. Ray, abominations of the earth. What is a biblical synonym for abomination? Do you remember from last class? It's a synonym for abomination. I gave you the definition from Webster's wonderful 1828 dictionary.
Idolatry.
Exactly. So idol and idolatry. And again, this is just one more hint, right? Because here, you know, it's Revelation 17:5 says mother of harlots, and we've discussed what that is. So a bunch of adulterers who say that they are married to Christ, the bride of Christ, but in fact are not. So they are adulterers. And now abominations of the earth. So mother of abominations of the earth. One way to think of that is mother of idols and idolatries of the earth. And one more hint, because there happens to be one very large church which is known for massive amounts of idols, and I would say lots and lots of idol worship. When you travel throughout Europe, where the Catholic Church was very powerful and still is, particularly in Southern Europe, and Northern Europe has more of a Protestant influence, and less of a Catholic influence. But Southern Europe has many, many Catholic chapels where there's an image of someone and there's worship done to that image. And remember, that's not a good idea. So our crucifixion scene is not biblical. That too is an idol. But these chapels, are they named after Jesus Christ? No. I don't know the number, but I would say 95% are named after a saint, and most of them after Mary. Okay, so it's chapel to Our Lady of blah, blah, blah. Right? And that's quite common in Brazil too. Okay, so that's idol worship. And so one more hint that maybe we're closing in, that God gave us some prophetic words almost 2,000 years ago, and that we see this expressed in a certain humanistic religion that's quite powerful still on earth. Okay, so let's now go to some new material, relatively new. So now let's go and take a look at Mystery Babylon and history. So Emily, can you please read, did I type Monica? No, sorry. Oh, that's correct. Okay, so Emily, can you please read Revelation 13:8, please, in English?
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world.
Okay. So if anyone gets there before me, go ahead and please read 13:8.
E adorá-lo-ão todos os que habitam sobre a terra, aqueles cujos nomes não foram escritos no livro da vida do Cordeiro, que foi morto desde a fundação do mundo.
Okay, so what we're reviewing, jumping back to Revelation chapter 13, is what are we looking at? And we're when it says worship him, who is the him? Do you remember? So who is this speaking about? And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. What does that sound like? It's definitely great tribulation. It's definitely tribulation. So who's the object of the worship?
The Antichrist.
Yeah, exactly. It probably, the word they use here is the beast. Okay, but it's clearly synonymous at this time, whose names. And so here we have the Antichrist, or the beast, is going to make all that dwell upon the earth worship him. Wow. So let's take a look at question A. So Monica, can you please read question A in English?
At what prior times did the religion's dictator subdue the world of the civilized part of it?
Very good. So dictator, so that A is more of, so it's dictator, or the civilized part of it. Okay, so we're thinking of Mystery Babylon. We know Mystery Babylon is definitely a figure in the tribulation period, right? And there's 2 whole chapters about Mystery Babylon, a very important figure. But now we're thinking, well, wait a second, maybe she represents something over history. So what am I saying? At what prior times did a religious dictator subdue the world? So this is prior to the Antichrist, or the civilized part of the world. What prior times? We just mentioned one. The only civilized part of the world around the Tower of Babel was where? The Tower of Babel.
How many people?
When we say the whole world, we go, well, that's a big world. Nimrod wasn't like flying all over the world. No, but the world was all right there. Right? There were animals elsewhere, but humans, no, the humans were there, right? So after the Noah's Ark, the humans started in one place. The human race began again, if you will. So Nimrod already was a religious dictator, but can you think in the history, when were there another time of religious dictator who made everyone in the civilized world worship him?
Middle Ages.
Okay, and so you're maybe talking about the popes when
Yeah.
they took a lot of control, and so you know if you and the threat the Pope had is he could excommunicate you, and that meant emperors and kings bowed their knee. They were terrified of being excommunicated, which means you're cursed and you're going to hell. And so yes, in a sense, the Pope could get them to do anything the Pope wanted, but the Pope wasn't saying worship me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so but when is there an actual time when a world dictator was saying worship me or else?
Oh, Nebuchadnezzar.
That's true. I hadn't even thought of that. You're absolutely right. So we can go back to that's part of like Babylon. So Nebuchadnezzar was demanded that. You're absolutely right. So let's move forward in time. What's a more recent example? Not very recent, but it was a long period when where there were dictators who demanded they be worshipped. The Roman Empire. Okay, so remember the Caesars. The reason why Emperor Nero killed so many Christians is because those Christians did not bow down and worship him as the God. All right, you were allowed, it was okay, as we know when Paul visited Athens, and that there were many gods that you could go and worship to, very pantheistic, right? Which is like very Eastern mystical. They have many gods. Hindus have actually 330 million gods. So to add one more named Jesus Christ is no big deal for them. Like, oh yeah, he's a god too. Right. So you have to be careful when someone agrees with you that you know. Anyway, so they were okay. You have to worship Caesar. You can have other gods, but you have to worship Caesar above, at the top. So only when Emperor Constantine said, okay, I'm going to stop killing Christians for not worshiping me, the Caesar, but I'm going to absorb the Christian church, and then the Christian church has to do what I say. And I'm going to be the head of it. I'm not going to say you have to worship me. All right. So, you know, but he was, so for 300 years, we know pretty clearly, because for those 300 years, Christians were being martyred and killed because they would not worship Caesar. Okay, so what does that sound? So it sounds like, oh, okay, so that was the Roman Empire. And what's going to happen during the tribulation? Well, we just read in Revelation 13:8, the Antichrist is going to say, you worship me or you're dead. Oh, okay. The most recent example of exactly that was the Roman Empire. Maybe what we're looking at is the revived Roman Empire. Okay, the parallels are pretty good. Okay, so let's go on. And then, Jude, can you read Revelation 17:6, please?
6. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Wow, ok. So, e vi que a mulher estava embriagada do sangue dos santos e do sangue das testemunhos de Jesus. E vendo-a eu, marvelhei-me com grande admiração. Yes.
Maravilhei-me.
Thank you, maravilhei-me. One pronunciation, it's woman drunken.
Drunken.
Okay, very good. All right, so then let's go directly to question B in English, and that would be then back to Emily, please.
When have religious systems created many martyrs for Christ in the past?
Okay, so what do you say? So religious systems that created many martyrs for Christ in the past. we just mentioned one, but I shifted the question a little bit. But okay, it's a religious system and many Christian martyrs. When did that happen? The early church. Okay, so under the Roman Empire. So for those first 300 years, more or less, lots of Christian martyrs. But was there another time when many Christians were killed for a religious system? So I remember I changed, it's no longer asking, is there a dictator that made you worship him? But no, now we're saying, is there a religious system that created many martyrs for Christ?
The Catholic.
Absolutely. And what was that period? There's a name for it where they specifically were going out and saying, if you do not agree with us, we are going to burn you. And what was that period? Sorry? Inquisition. Absolutely right, you. So the Inquisition, okay, so the Catholic Inquisition was clearly a period that that a religious system created many martyrs among true Christians. Because
and they sell a heaven place for
indulgences. Exactly. They did all sorts of strange things, material, greedy, evil things. But this Inquisition, when we think of the Crusades, for instance, the secular world will tell you the Crusades, oh, that was mostly about Christians. They weren't Christians, they were Catholics who went to the Middle East, went to Israel, went to Jerusalem, and killed Muslims and killed Jews. Well, they weren't Christians, they were Catholics. So I tell all my Jewish friends, don't look at Christians like, no, those weren't Christians. No Christ follower kills someone for their religion. By definition, that can't be a Christian. So they were Catholics. But the Crusades were not just, the knights marching to Israel and Jerusalem to go kill Jews and Muslims and retake Jerusalem. The Crusades were against fellow Bible-believing Christians. Okay, so there's names. There's the Albigenses, the Wallenses, the Huguenots in North. There's all sorts of groups in Europe that were massacred by the Inquisition, and we believe that as many as 1 million Christians were martyred, were burned at the stake because they would not bow to Rome. All right, they said, no, I don't believe in transubstantiation. I don't believe that the wafer is actual body of Christ, that the wine or grape juice is the actual blood of Jesus. I don't believe in it, that baptism as an infant is efficacious, that it does anything. So Christians who, from their Bible, said, no, that's not biblical. They were told, I don't care what you think is biblical. The Catholic Church tells you what to believe. And if you don't believe the Catholic Church, you'll be killed. So let's move on. Monica, can you please read Revelation 17:7?
Okay. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So let's see. This one is, E o anjo me disse, por que te admiras? E te direi o mistério da mulher e da besta que atrás, e qual tem 7 cabeças e 10 chifres. So I think you're noticing the first 6 verses of Revelation chapter 17, they are the revelation of Jesus Christ through John, and it's a vision. And what happens, as often happens, now in verse 7, the angel turns to John and says, I'm going to interpret this for you. Okay, so the Bible often interprets and explains itself. But the first thing to notice here is, remember, John wondered with great awe or great admiration, seeing the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Wow. So let's look at question C. So Ju, can you please read question C?
Yes. Did John ever look at the wide-looking beast which such awe?
Awe.
Awe.
Yeah, that,
Such
again, that's an irregular one because it's you know, if it's AWE, you would think that's like AWE. No, it's awe.
awe.
Okay. And so actually in the book of Revelation, John has a vision of the beast already 3 times. And does he have such a strong reaction? And remember, the beast is horrible looking. You know, it has horns. It's like, you know, a really strange mutant animal, genetic mutant. Does he look in such awe or admiration at the beast? Wow. Okay, so something is so that he, and here the angel says, wherefore didst thou marvel? So he's saying, he's reprimanding John. He's reprimanding him, saying, why are you, you know, showing such respect, such awe for this woman, right? So this was an amazing sight. So let's go. So Emily, can you please read Revelation 17:8?
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundations of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
Okay, thank you. A besta que viste foi e já não é, e há de subir do abismo, e irá à perdição. E os que habitam na terra, cujos nomes não estão escritos no livro da vida desde a fundação do mundo, se admirarão, vendo a besta que era e já não e ainda que é. Wow. Okay, so very interesting verse here. And I want to point out twice, it's something about the beast that was and is not and yet is. Huh. Okay, so let's go to question D. Monica, can you please read question D?
Okay. Which 2 interpretations of the beast are in view?
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like it's a, you know, it's in one thing, the beast. But we know that it can be represent, you know, a human, or it can represent a system. But so which 2 interpretations of the beast do you think are in view here? Because after all, it's, you know, a system doesn't ascend out of the bottomless pit. Okay, so what is ascending supposedly out of the bottomless pit? A man. Okay, so it sounds like we have the Antichrist, the beast, Antichrist. So we're talking about a man. But then what else? What's the second thing that it's not just a man? It's talking also about something else. Well, a really interesting thing is, look at that at the very beginning of the verse and at the end of the verse. Behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So if this is a religious system, or an empire, what empire would that be? Well, the Roman Empire, because the Roman Empire existed for many years, and then what happened? It died. Right? It broke up, first of all, between East and West, and then the Vandals, you know, came down from Germany and sacked Rome. What was that, 14 something? So it's like the Roman Empire ended. And yet is. So here we are, we're in the book of Revelation. So it's like, okay, the Roman Empire, it died. That was the original one. It was, and it died, and now it's revived. Okay, so this is then a hint. And let's take a look at the next. All right, yeah. So and remember, this is actually first explicit. Okay, yes. So let's go back. We're going to go back to the first explicit mention of the beast in the book of Revelation. So let's look at the next verse. So that is Jude. Can you please read Revelation 11:7? Oh, sorry, you have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. Sometimes is loud here.
Don't worry.
And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make a war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them.
Uau, ok. E quando acabaram o seu testemunho, a besta que sobe do abismo lhes fará guerra, e os vencerá, e os matará. Oh, that's strange. Okay, so the beast, I guess, is the Antichrist. And somehow he comes up out of the bottomless pit. And so what is that? Where's the bottomless pit? Like in the middle of the earth. All right, so abysm.
Abysm.
Well, I'm thinking that's when it's close. English uses abysm. Okay, so no O at the end. It's also, some will say, oh, this is part of hell called Tartarus. But anyway, so this is something inside the earth. Now let's look at question E. So Emily, can you please read question E?
What is the importance of was and is not and yet is?
Okay, I think I just gave that away. All right, so it's both of the interpretations in view. One, the Roman Empire, which died and then revived, and then now we seem to have this man, the beast, the Antichrist. But let's take a look at question F. So Monica, can you please read question F?
Why, how does the beast ascended out of the bottomless pit?
Okay, because I mean, it's an important question because most people think, well, you go down to the bottomless pit, kind of means like you died, you're dead, and then he comes out of it, so he's able to like escape the bottomless pit and then is revived. I mean, what's going on there? So let's go now to Jude. Can you read Revelation 13:3, please?
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
Okay, so we've gone back to the first introduction of the beast back in Revelation chapter 13, where the word beast is explicitly used for the first time. And, oh, it's strange. E vi uma das suas cabeças como ferida de morte, e a sua chaga mortal foi curada, e toda a terra se maravilhou após a besta. Okay, so it's a subtle verse. It kind of sounds as though the beast or the Antichrist died and then resurrected. Is that possible? Does the devil or Satan have able to create or resurrect life?
No.
No. Okay, so only God fully creates life. So to bring someone back from the dead, only God can do that. I think the Bible teaches us. So, but the English here is right. I saw one of his heads as it were wounded. So as it were, it's kind of like, okay, and his deadly wound as it were healed. Okay, so the idea is, well, maybe it'll look like that. So that what we're talking about is that the beast or the Antichrist, he looks as though he was killed, but he wasn't. And he comes back and everyone goes, ah, how can we battle with this? All right, because he came back from life. We can't kill him. So a possibility is that the Antichrist during the tribulation, it appears as if he was killed and he wasn't, and he comes back to life and everyone is scared. All right, okay, this guy has power over life and death, so we're not going to think of opposing him.
Ben, can the devil do miracles?
Well, again, I think we spoke of that a little before. Signs and wonders.
Yes. Okay.
All right, there's false prophets, false Christs. There will be many signs and wonders that will deceive even the elect.
Okay.
Okay.
It's because I saw a video of R.C. Sproul talking about this when he was alive, and he said that the signs and wonders that the devil does are not actually miracles, like they're an impression of miracles. So
Yes.
all of them are impressions?
I can't say, I don't think the Bible tells us clearly. Because
Okay.
who were the first imitators of miracles? Do you remember? He was on the banks of the Nile in Egypt.
Egyptians.
Okay, the Jambres and I forget what's the second part, right? Because only in the New Testament do they give us the name of them, but they were the magicians. And they were able to a certain point mimic Moses and Aaron's true God miracles. So they were able to bring, what was it, locusts? All right, the magicians, they were able to turn some water red or bloody. So they repeated several things, but then they couldn't any longer. So magic, yeah, the devil, the Satan has power for magic, but true miracle, remember there's going to be Satan, or rather the false prophet will bring fire down from heaven. Now, some would say that's a miracle. Or I guess one has to say that Satan is so powerful that he's able to manipulate, atmospheric conditions. So like lightning, he's able to bring fire down from heaven. Okay, so I think the gentleman you mentioned is probably correct that real miracles are only of God.
Okay.
But there are many, but signs and wonders, people look at wonders are kind of understood as miracles, but you can say it's then false miracles.
Okay.
And I think whatever he can do with God's permission. If God not permission, he can do anything.
Yeah.
If he can do miracles because God permission.
Yeah.
This is the best news for us. He can do,
I agree.
he can do anything without God's permission.
Wait a minute, not anything. He can't do anything to his sons and daughters. Yeah. He can do anything he wants to anyone who does not know Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. He's the God of this world. All right. He can do a lot.
Yeah.
But he can't do anything to anyone on this Zoom without God knowing about it. So God lets him. So, the same way that Satan was able to do everything up to us but take Job's life. That was obviously with God's permission. Up to, you can do anything, you can kill his family, you can give him a disease, you can, but you can't kill him. But so someone who belongs to Jesus Christ, Satan truly has no full power over them. So let's finish up. Now, did I read that? Sorry, I did read that. Okay, so let's go to question G, please. So that would be Emily. Can you please read question G?
Reviving after visiting the bottomless pit reflects what event? Okay.
So, wait a sec. So remember that the Antichrist is animated by the dragon. Okay, so there's some strange process at some point when the Antichrist, who's, just born he's probably already living somewhere on the earth tonight as we speak. So he's just a normal guy, but he has like a lot of ambition. All right. So, who could that be? I don't know. But at a certain point, and we'll probably see those verses later, the Satan animates him and makes him even more powerful. And so this idea of having, so Satan, remember, wants to mimic someone, wants to be seen as someone. The Antichrist wants to be seen as someone. So this idea that you die and then are resurrected, who is that copying?
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. So, so remember, Antichrist, anti can mean opposed to, but also can mean imitate. Okay. So in the place of. So let's look at Ephesians 4, 8 to 10. So Monica, can you please read Ephesians 4, chapter 4, verses 8 through 10 in English?
Wherefore he said, when we ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that we also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things.
Okay, very good. The lower parts of the earth, so low and then lower. Very good. That's a lot of English there. So let's go. Com isso diz, subindo ao alto, levou cativa o cativeiro, o cativeiro e deu dons aos homens. Ora, isto ele subiu, que é senão que também antes tinha descido às partes mais baixas da terra. Aquele que desceu é também o mesmo que subiu acima de todos os céus para cumprir todas as coisas. Okay, so there we are. So this is the part that tells us about Jesus, who ascended on high, and they're saying, okay, for him to ascend, he had to descend first. And when he descended, he led captivity captive, which we believe is that he brought all of those Old Testament saints whose bodies were in the ground and their souls were waiting in what's called Abraham's bosom down in hell. So the souls of the Old Testament saints, then Jesus brought them up to heaven. Okay, so this is during when? During the 3 days that Jesus's body, 3 days and 3 nights that Jesus's body was in the grave, he went down and he led captivity captive, and he gave gifts until men. He brought their souls up to heaven, thank God. Okay, so this is Christ, this is the Antichrist and Satan trying to mimic once again God. Now, we're going to finish up now. So we started a little late, so we're running a little late. But I forgot, I meant to share a couple of things were so involved, okay, that when we spoke of the Tower of Babel, and I think you remember an old image of it. Oh, did I find that as well? Let me just check here. Well, I think oh, here we are. Okay, so we're going to share that. And this is a truly scary set of images I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is actually an advertisement, an ad, back when the European Union was being formed. Prior to that, it was called the Common Market. And at first they made a trade organization, and then they formed the European Union. And as we know, the European Union has all of these stars and they're actually not the good kind of star. They're actually the goat-like devilish stars. And here's an ad, which actually is from a defense manufacturer, and it's lauding them, saying, okay, Europe, many tongues, one voice. Wow. And what did they do?
What a coincidence.
Exactly. And what is this an image of?
Tower of Babel.
The Tower of Babel. And so can you believe it that they actually are saying, you know what? God scattered us. He made us all, you know, he first of all, he divided us into language groups so we couldn't understand each other. Well, we in Europe, we are going to do something really great. We're going to bring many tongues to one voice. And so it's been called undoing the Babel effect. Wow. Can you believe that these people so obviously are like, you know what? I think we should, you know, Nimrod, he had something going there. Nimrod was a cool dude and he was doing great things. He was like, wow, you know, he was like building rocket ships up into the heaven, you know, or super colliders at, you know, at Bern, Switzerland, great stuff. So let's like forget that we speak separate languages. We're all going to speak the same language. Esperanto, no, actually English.
Oh, I didn't realize it.
Right. The one language, unfortunately, is English. Okay, so the global language, that's the official language for those. And what are they going to do about it? They're going to start building the Tower of Babel again. So it's like, wow, after all of that damage. But that's not all. I don't want to scare you, but of course, well, guess what that is?
United Nations.
Say that again. Where do you think that building is?
Europe.
Yeah, and what part? It's in Belgium, it's in Brussels, and that is an image of the European Parliament. What does it look like?
Yeah.
Well, look at this. It kind of looks to me like the Tower of Babel. What do you think?
Yes.
It kind of does. Can you believe it? I mean, what do these people think they are doing?
Yeah, that's
They
really
actually are doing that against God intentionally. And that's like however tens of millions of dollars. All those nations got. Let's make the building look like the Tower of Babel. That's a great idea. Do they read their Bible? I guess not. Or they read their Bible and they're like, you know what? I prefer Satan. Okay, that is, how scary is that? And here's one last thing. Guess where this statue is?
Oh my.
This statue is it's right in front of the European Parliament, the image I just showed you. And what does this look like to you?
Woman.
Right, doing what?
On the beast.
Exactly, it's the woman riding the beast. I mean, these guys aren't subtle at all. Can you believe how satanic it is that the Europe's leaders would admire all of this and they would make fun of God? They're laughing in the face of the Bible and us Christians. I have no other explanation for it. Can you think of any other reason? Okay, so if you had any doubt that the Antichrist will revive, that the revived Roman Empire will be where? Well, it's where the old Roman Empire was. And that covered most of Europe, right? And so the revived Roman Empire of the Antichrist is going to come from there. It'll have more power outside of that. But it's, it's clear. The European Union was founded apparently on satanic principles. So, I mean, that's my interpretation. I wish there was a more optimistic, friendly, kindly, friendly interpretation. But you look at the parliament, you look at the statue in front, you look at ads such as that saying, you know, many tongues, one voice, showing the actual Tower of Babel. They know what they're doing.
In
It's
Brazil, we use this Tower of Babel we use a lot of when we want to talk about the confusion.
Yeah.
Oh, these places are like
Yeah. And the same thing in English, because actually the English word to babble comes from that. And the English word to babble, let's see, here we go, is okay. And to babble is blah, 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 like a baby.
Mhm.
All right, so it's like many voices at once that no one can understand each other. It's babbling. Okay, so it's directly from the root of the many. So here's evidence of a word in English that came directly from the Bible. So we turned Babel into a verb, to babble, and it's used today. Okay, so same thing. So I'm sorry. I mean, this is very, very sad,
Yes.
right? Because I can't imagine what it's like to be a born again, Bible believing Christian in Europe. And there are many there. So I have many European friends, but how sad
Yes.
that they obviously have turned satanic. Their leaders have, at least, and the people they've gone along. No one protests that the woman riding the beast is in front of the European. Maybe some Christians do, so maybe I'm wrong, but it seems okay. Okay, so thank God. And here, Europe was the center of civilization. Remember the spiritual battles. I think I mentioned this in my course on the history of the Bible, but that the spiritual battles moved from the Middle East. It started in Israel, correct? Then it moved to Europe. All right, so in fact, when Paul left Antioch in the first mission trip, that was the first time that the word was brought to the European landmass, to Greece. He wanted to go to Asia. And God said, I have other plans, Paul. You're going to Europe. All right, so he sent him to Greece, and eventually the spiritual battle moved there because we had the Dark Ages when the Bible could not be read in your own language. You could not have a Bible in your house. It would be burned. You would be burned. And so the Dark Ages was when you were not supposed to have access to God's word. And then the Reformation came, so Luther, and so all these, so the spiritual battle moved to Europe. Well, I would say starting in the 19th century, it moved where? To the United States. So it moved to the New World. So now the biggest spiritual battles are mostly in the New World, Brazil, as well as the United States, but United States because it was the biggest missionary country in history, the only country founded as a Christian country at first, back with the Mayflower Covenant. All right, was an actual, founding of the what was to be the first Christian nation on earth. And now the spiritual battle is intense over the United States. And Brazil too. So, but how sad that Europe, from which many of us, we have our, cultural roots, we have family roots, religious roots, right? Because the Reformation started in Europe. So our spiritual roots, many great successes, all those famous scientists who were almost all Christians, Bible-believing Christians, were the most famous scientists throughout history. And that Europe has thrown that all away is sad. So, all right, so I don't want to depress you. We went a little long. Any questions or comments tonight?
Great class.
Oh, well, it's
Thank
the
you.
Lord who makes it interesting, and it's because his word is just so full of meaning. The prophecies are so incredible. The Bible is forever the most important book, document, communication in the, in human existence. And so it's just glory be to God and to his true word. But thank you. So I'm so delighted to be able to share this with you. And any other questions or comments? Then I'm going to, okay.